Hi everyone, happy October Awareness Month. My name is Dr. Kathryn Garforth, and today I am speaking about dyslexia and other specific learning disorders. Now, this topic is one that's very near and dear to my heart, and that's because I actually have dyslexia, and it's how I got on my path to advocacy and focusing on helping support others, being given access to the basic right of reading and making sure that they're given the opportunities that they deserve to learn and become fluent learners or readers in reading, math, and writing. So today I am talking about dyslexia and other specific learning disorders. Now, it's important that you understand that learning disabilities have a neurological basis, and that means that it's something that has to do with how the brain works, but it doesn't affect their developmental milestones. So they are still developing typically, but the way that their brain's learning new information is a little bit different, and it makes it more challenging for people. So, and in the DSM-5, which I talked about yesterday, that's a manual that we have for talking about disabilities or developmental conditions and their diagnostic criteria. It was switched to disorder because it refers to a disruption in functioning, right? So for someone with a specific learning disorder, there is a disruption in their ability to learn how to read, or a disruption in their ability with writing, a disruption in their ability for mathematics. And that means that it's used to say that there's a disruption in function, and it's not something that they can't do. And that's why they moved from a disability to a disorder. And it's a biological in origin, and that means, so if someone has a specific learning disability and diagnosed with a specific learning disability, it's not because they haven't had the opportunity to learn the skill. It means that there is something that makes learning this skill particularly difficult for them, even though they have been given the opportunity to learn this. And it means that it's not something that they can just try harder doing the same thing. If it didn't work the first time, the way it was taught, it's not going to work if they do the same instruction over and over again. So if you're teaching a student with a specific learning disorder, you have to be able to find different ways to try and teach them the material if the first way that you're working with doesn't work, and make sure they have the foundational skills. And this is really important because if you don't understand the individual's strength and weakness profile, then you may be making or providing an intervention that isn't fit for their needs. And what I mean by that is, if you're trying to work on a child's ability to understand what they're reading, but they're still not able to read it, you're not going to be having the same effect and the same impact on that child as you would if you were focusing on the beginning reading skills that they are weak in. It will also give you information on how you can help support them as far as what skills to target and what interventions will likely work. So there are 3 categories of specific learning disabilities. There is a specific learning disability with impairment in writing, and this affects an ability to spell words. They have problems with grammar, sentence structure, and punctuation, and they may find it challenging when they're trying to get their ideas across clearly. There's also a specific learning disorder with an impairment in mathematics, and this means that the individual struggles to understand the concepts related to math and making comparisons and counting, so their number sense, their ability to be able to count objects sequentially and only putting one number to one object. It has to do with their ability to memorize basic math facts like addition, subtraction, and multiplication, and it can affect their ability to do mathematics calculation. And so there's lots of things that can feed into a math disability, and that's why it's important to figure out where the disability is. For example, if you're working on an intervention that's affecting their basic math facts, but they're still struggling with number sense, is not the most effective way to put your efforts into that, because it's not focusing on the skill that they're struggling with specifically. Now, a specific reading or learning disorder with an impairment in reading means that they have problems with reading words accurately or their ability to decode words. It has to do with their ability to read fluently, and that means accurately and as if the text were being spoken in conversation. And they have problems with understanding what they're reading. Now, it's important to note that an individual may have a specific learning disability in one of these areas or all three. So it's important that you figure out where it is and not think that they can only have a problem in one of these areas. The good news is that there are lots of things that we can do to help support these students, and it's important that we provide the supports that they need to become proficient in these skills. Another important thing is that we can screen for a lot of these areas that they struggle in early before they actually become a significant problem, and we can start providing interventions early when they're most effective and when students aren't having to show their knowledge through their reading, through their written work, and through their math skills. So if we are focusing on those number sense concepts and understanding how to count and how to relate numbers in an equation before we start working on addition and subtraction, multiplication, then the child isn't going to fall as far behind, and they're going to have the support they need to succeed. That doesn't mean that it's going to prevent them from struggling. It just means that they're going to not have the same struggles. So this is why advocating for early screening in preschool and kindergarten is very, very important. It means that we're able to catch the kids that are at risk for failure early. We're able to provide them with interventions that are going to help them learn the skills better the first time around. And yes, they are still likely to have some difficulty, but it hopefully won't be as severe as it would be in the first place. And the good news is that this is going to help everyone in the classroom, whether they have a specific learning disorder or not. So it's very helpful to make sure that we take the time to screen. It also means that if we're screening, we're not diagnosing these students with a specific learning disorder, and that's something that I often hear is an objection for screening students in preschool and kindergarten for these things. What we're doing is identifying risk and applying the appropriate interventions to try and help them not have as much struggle as they would have if it was left undiagnosed. So please let me know and reach out to me if you have any more questions about specific learning disabilities. I would love to go into more detail and be able to answer your questions. Also, make sure you take a moment to like the Garforth Education Facebook page. If you're a parent, join the Garforth Education Parents Group. If your child has exceptionalities or special needs, you should join the Garforth Education Exceptional Parent Group. And if you're an educator, you should join Garforth Education's Educator Group, because this is where I share a lot of information to help you better understand these conditions or these disorders and how to support them so that we can find the most amount of success with individuals. I hope you have a great day.